We ain't got no special intros.
There
We
go.
are live.
Hey, everybody. Hope everybody's doing okay tonight. Y'all
Hey,
welcome Miss Bree. Everybody, I know a lot of folks know her, so y'all be sure to speak. And glad to have her on with us tonight.
Yep.
So,
Not So Perfect Bigfoot Show. Love it. Love it. If y'all have not subscribed to her show, please go do it.
that's it.
And she has some fabulous interviews with people on there. Y'all make sure you go watch.
Thank you.
All right. So go through your people.
Okay, we'll see you. Who's that? That
You
Tammy?
can't see with them
Well,
glasses
no, I
on.
need to go get some new ones. That's Tammy Johnson.
We got Sharon
Miss
and
Sharon,
Rex and
Billy.
Billy, Mark Creel, Sharon Guy, Mr. Skunk Ape's in the house.
Yeah.
See, Mr.
Blue
Pat.
Eye. Yeah.
He said Mr. Joe was working on a tree stand.
Okay.
Mr. Gary Spikes, Denise, Stacy Thrasher, David Blaylock. Now I'm scrolling kind of fast, so if I miss somebody,
Hey,
I'm
River.
sorry.
River.
Yep, River. Well, y'all been talking again in here. Christy.
Christy. Yeah.
Did we say Sharon?
Yes.
Mark's in the house. I guess I should have done that right there.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Jeff's in there. Me and Jeff had a good conversation last night on the way to work. Hey, Miss Katie G.
Biting my ankle. CD
Miss CD.
Squatcher.
Yeah. Miss Diane.
Diane.
Good to see everybody.
Catherine Gay.
Mr. Tennessee Cherokee. Good to see
Yeah.
you, Brian. We always speak to everybody that comes in chat if we
Mr.
can.
Phyllis.
Fellas, yeah.
Bobby.
Bobby.
Hill,
I always try to acknowledge everybody. Hey, Patrick. Good to see you, brother.
Pat Noble.
Sometimes I goof up and miss somebody, though. But that chat gets to flying so quick.
It
Hard to
does.
keep up with it sometimes.
I think my chat knows I'm a scatterbrain, so I get a pass on it.
Lamb.
Catherine.
Catherine.
Good to see everybody.
I'm still scrolling
John
through
Lamb.
all y'all's chatting.
They've been going for a while, haven't
They have.
they? Yeah.
Crystal.
Good people.
We'll be there in
Sergey
just a
made it
minute,
in
Miss
the
V.
house.
You're fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
That chat is so important. Now, can I tell them if they see my friend John Futeway?
Absolutely.
Yes.
If you guys see John Futeway, jump in. He's a good friend. He's a good Christian. He is actually looking for, groups where he can feel comfortable because he has anxiety. If you guys would give him a warm welcome and make him feel welcome to the family, I would be grateful.
Yeah, our chat people are usually very good about that.
We ain't never really had no
Mr.
issue.
Denduvin's in the house. George White.
Yeah, Mr. Big Al. Good to see you.
Craig Schultz.
Karen.
Randall.
I don't know if you're going to catch up with it tonight or
I don't
not.
know that I am. We're there at the end of it. We made it at the end.
All right.
And we've got people saying, of course, already. So when he comes in, they will welcome him.
Thank you.
Are you able to see chat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did we say hey to Mr. Billy?
Hey, Billy.
Hey, Billy, Jeff, Philip. Hey, everyone.
Well,
Hey,
we're going
Greg.
to do a little bit different tonight. I'm going to go ahead and get the plant out of the way. And y'all, I want to tell you how easy it is to find herbal remedies just going around looking in your yard. So we've had some storms blow through. And one of the things I saw, but I didn't pick it up, is there's this mushroom, I believe it's called chaga, and it grows on the side of your trees. Well, of course, for us, it's way up in the top of the tree, and I never see it until it falls down on the ground. And at that point, I'm pretty sure it's not any good anymore because it's nice and black. But other things that falls out of the trees are things like this. And I just walked over here to the fire pit, and there it was. Okay. While looking at this, I picked it up and I just wanted to verify my ID. I already knew what it was. So I looked it up on Google to see what sort of resources was out there. And it confirmed. But while I was standing there, I just happened to look down.
There was some more.
And there's more. This, for those that don't know, is Usnea, whatever they call it. Yeah, Becca's got a mushroom. Behave, Christy. Behave. Misty is not in the house yet. Riff Raff, hey, how are you
David
tonight?
Hughes ain't made it either.
Yeah. So this
Craig.
is Usnea or Usnea, however you want to pronounce it.
Jerry.
And guys, I'm not kidding. I just looked down and there was this big chunk of it on the ground, because if you've got trees, it's a high possibility that you have this, especially here in the South. This is technically a parasitic plant, but it has so many uses. And if you find one little piece, then you know you've got more. So keep your eyes open. Best way to learn herbal remedies: first, look down at your feet. See what you have. Learn what you have available to you already. And then go from there. All right. Our book this week is going to be brought to you none other than by Miss V.
What is this stuff good for?
Oh, it's good for so many things. We've done covered it before.
Oh, okay.
And Misty made that tincture and everything that she did.
Oh, okay.
But Usnea is one of those that's good for everything.
Greg wants to know, can that be woven into a lawn cloth?
Oh, apparently I got to tell more people to behave than just Christy.
They're rowdy tonight.
A baby blanket. It was a baby blanket, Greg.
Oh.
So it fights germs, decreases swelling and fever. It even says it combats cancer cells in some of these sites. So it's one of them things. It's used for everything. And like I said, we've covered this one before, so we're not going to go into it tonight, but you just make tinctures out of it and stuff like that. And I mean, there's so many different things you can do, guys. But now, Miss V and the book of the week. You're on the spot now.
I told you I throw you on the spot.
So I grabbed two books. Do you want what I would read or what I?
Your choice. Hey, pulling.
Show both of them.
Okay.
Hey,
What
Sherry.
I like to read. This is 5 Years to Freedom: The True Story of a Vietnam POW.
Nice.
Green Beret. He was a POW for years, and I haven't finished it, but it goes through what he witnessed, what he endured, how he had to survive, watching his friends die. It goes into the circumstances, and it is. I read anything about the Vietnam War. I don't know. I've always been drawn to it, or any of the world wars, and that's just something I've really gotten into. Great book. The other one, White Fang.
Oh, that's good.
Classic. Classic. Right. I always have mixed feelings about it because I get, a little teary eyed, but it's a good book that captures history really well and the way people used to live.
Yeah. We were talking about one the other day that was a real good book. I don't remember who you were talking about it with. Maybe David Beasley, but Old Yeller.
Old Yeller. Yeah, we were talking about Where the Red Fern Grows too by Wilson Rawls.
Oh yeah, that was you, and Where the Red Fern Grows, right? But Old Yeller too. So
yeah,
Where the Red Fern Grows. Oh my gosh, that's such a good book.
I had a yellow lab named Yellow Dog, and he always reminded me of Old Yeller. But yeah, White Fang is great, Jeff. But
Miss Catherine Guy's husband just wrote a book too. So y'all
put the name of it in the comments there, Miss Catherine.
Yeah. I meant and how you can get it, or the best way to get it.
Yep.
Yeah, that way people can order it. They can. But
what is that one about? Can she put it down in the comments?
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I've seen it several times. It looks like a real good book. I think it's something about out west. I hope I ain't speaking out of term here. I think it's something about out as Western. Maybe she'll put it in there in just a minute for all of us to see. And
yeah, we're all sitting here waiting.
I know Mr. Barton Nunley got it. He ordered one of them, and he showed it here, I think, a week or two ago on his show one night. And I've been meaning to look at it. So
I try to, you know, when someone publishes a book in the community, I try to support them as much as I can because, you know, they did put their time and effort in it. So I would Alone in the West. Okay. Catherine, I'm going to check that out and try to support them.
Same here.
on Amazon, everybody. So y'all check that out. Alone in the West. Roger Gay. So y'all remember that. His mentors.
Memoirs.
Ms. Marsh, excuse me.
You're just
We'll
like
get you there eventually.
I know.
We'll get you there eventually.
Sorry.
All right. So I have gotten my book out of the way and my plan out of the way. So now it's on to you and your awesome interviewing skills, sir.
My man.
I'm going to be reading chat.
Me.
That one right there. She's got the interview skills.
Yeah, she does. I'm probably just saying.
Well, yeah, I need to go ahead and do the rest of my stuff. So what is your favorite thing to cook?
To cook or to eat?
Cook.
Frozen pizza.
Oh my goodness. So the truth comes out. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I guess
I was alone 90% of my adult life, and my husband is. I think that's why his adult daughter moved out of the house, so she wouldn't have to eat my cooking.
You know, my sister can burn water, so it's all good. You know, not all of us cook.
She is my people.
Oh, all right. So, what's your favorite thing to eat now?
Collards.
What?
I like collards.
No.
Collard greens, girl. Collard greens.
Out of all of the choices in the world, collards?
Girl, I come. The best collards you'll ever have is cooked by a 70-year-old woman that lives in the swamp and grows her own. And
I just can't.
Did that just kill you? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
to have the perfect collards, you have to keep the stems in. You have to cook cornbread, flat cornbread.
Yeah.
Then with chopped up, yuck, stop it. Chopped up onion in it, and you make a collard sandwich. Like a Big Mac. That's country. I love collards.
I'm thinking
I've never heard you speechless, Beck.
You know, collards with a thin layer between two slices of cornbread, that might make it edible.
Good stuff.
But greens is just a
Bobby,
no.
right. That's right, Bobby. Bobby is my people. Thank you.
Yes. She is. You give me the ham part of that discussion, and we're on board, but not the greens. Come on, out of all the choices in the world.
Well, you know what? Said, eat your greens.
I mean, I was expecting some sort of fancy Mexican or Italian or who knows, even Chinese. And your favorite food to eat is collards.
I will tell you what I was raised by my daddy. I'll tell you what my daddy used to cook for me when I was sick. Cook cabbage, yeah. And so it's my second favorite. He would take smoked sausage and he would dice it up, and he would stew tomatoes in it and put some rice in it with some butter. Good. Smoked sausage. I can get down with that. Yes, it has gotten me in trouble over the years.
And I'm with Mark on this one. It might mess up the cornbread.
No, I still love you anyway. The Bible says, "Love thy neighbor," even if they don't like collards.
It does. You have the collards. I'll take the cabbage. We'll be good to go.
There you go.
Collards. I did not see that one coming.
Well, she told me the other night she loved collards. Me and her.
Yeah, but when you're picking a favorite food,
Oh, that could be her.
Collards is not usually top
What?
of the list. That one got
Well,
me.
I don't know, babe. Some of the old country folks would
That
rather eat
one
that.
got
They would
me.
a lot of stuff. Man.
You're right. They would.
Now,
They,
I can make a mean strawberry pie, just like they
Ooh.
used to serve at Shoney's, because I was a waitress at Shoney's for 5 years. So I can do that. But the only thing you cook is the pie shell. So,
Okay.
but there's that because you cook something.
So our next meetup, you're bringing that.
I will bring as many strawberry pies as you want.
And collards for the rest.
They might kick me out if I cook the collards.
Yeah.
Y'all put pepper sauce in your collards when you eat them.
Vinegar. Well, we got a vinegar with the peppers that we soak in jar. Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, we call that pepper sauce here.
Oh, peppers. Well, we like pepper sauce on our fried flounder too.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds good. Oh, I ain't never put it on flounder before.
Nope.
Because flounder is my favorite saltwater fish. So,
Yeah.
and,
Mine too. Now, my daddy could make a good. He could make a good shrimp Creole. Mm-hmm. My daddy would. Oh yeah.
yeah, because y'all not too far from the ocean, so y'all can get
Alien.
the seafood pretty easy, can't you?
Oh yeah. My dad lived on the ocean. For most of my adult life. Yeah.
Okay.
He raised us, and then he was gone. He went to live his life.
All right. So we've got the dessert. We've got the favorite food. We've got what we cook. Frozen pizza.
Hey, some
Phyllis
people like
followed
it easy, bro.
Cornbread.
And I won't hold the fish against you, nor the
See,
shrimp.
here she goes again. She
So,
just
Well, I'm reading right here. Phyllis just volunteered for the cornbread. It's right
yeah, I
there.
see that. I
Yeah.
see that. Yeah. We cook good cornbread here too. The best I've ever done was an accident. Remember the whiskey cornbread?
yeah.
We put sourdough starter in the cornbread. And it turned out awesome. And I don't think I could ever recreate it though.
You tried several times.
Yep.
You couldn't hit it.
Mm-mm.
It hit just right, I guess.
I am not a cornbread person unless it's that thin, fried into lard, and it's got cut up onions in it.
Cornbread has to be cooked in lard. I'm sorry, it does. It just has to be, and in a cast iron skillet. Now, me, I like a little bit thicker because I'm going to slice it open and slather it in butter while it's still hot. It's good that way, too.
And it's good in sweet milk, too. Just crumble it up and put it in sweet milk or buttermilk. It's good.
Don't do it.
What?
Soggy cornbread. Don't do it.
Oh, it's good.
Don't
it's
do
good.
it.
I've ate that for supper many times.
I'm still trying to digest you doing that. Well, where we come from, we would call that a poor man's lunch. Just like we would do it with corn. We cut corn off the cob and put it on bread and slop it up when we were kids.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Totally get it.
All right. What else can we do before you do your interviewing? Because they talking over here, and I'm trying to keep up, and it's not working.
They're already talking about food over there.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Oh, yeah. They running with it. Somebody done got the cornbread and the buttermilk, and I'm just like, nope. Today's going to be the day that we topic.
I can't have collards now because I'm doing the carnivore. So.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So what are you eating now instead of collard?
I'm eating a big fat steak or bacon or hamburger. And I'll put a big slab of butter on it and I'll munch it down like I'm just a rabid dog, and it's good. But if I stay on it for 2 weeks and I'm really clean, I will be pain-free. And not even medicine does that.
So what is your trigger?
What is my trigger?
Yeah, for the pain.
What do you mean? If I go off the carnivore?
Mm-hmm. What are you adding back in that causes pain to come back?
Fried pork chops, baby. Fried pork chops. With collards.
Bless your heart.
The collards do it too.
I don't have a lot of collards anymore because I can't cook my own. So
Right.
if
Yeah, you can't take those out of the freezer and reheat them real good.
Is the have you tried sometimes to add something back just to see if it would bother you, like a sweet potato or
I can't
peas?
just add something back
Okay,
because I will just annihilate everything I work for. To me, it's
I
either
got
I'm all in or all out.
Yeah,
okay, I got
And
you.
that's
I
how
had to do. I had to do that. What is it? Low FOD diet thing where they take everything out of your diet and you slowly add back in one thing at a time.
the 30-day clean.
Whatever it was. I never did find my trigger, but I know while I was doing it, I felt so much better, and I lost some weight. But then I fell and I broke my wrist and come off the diet, and so yeah. But I never did figure out what my trigger food was that made me not feel great. So
The 30-day clean, when I was doing like cross training, the trainer put me on the 30-day clean, and I was like, piece of cake. No, no. My husband has
hard.
candy bars. He has, and I'm just, if it's there, I'm. And I went back the next day. I said, we got to try something else. So
Yeah, that sort of diet, it's very hard. I mean, I could have. I don't even remember what I was allowed to eat that first couple of weeks. That it was nothing. There was no peppers, no onions, no pastas, grains, bread, no milk, cheese, no anything. And I think I was living on. I could have banana. No, I don't remember if I could have a banana or not. But I was doing like protein smoothies for a solid week, and that was it until they started allowing me to put a thing or two back in. And I remember my first meal that they allowed me to have back. I did grits and eggs, and that was my breakfast: grit and egg. That was it.
Hey, everybody's come in the chat in the last few minutes. We got
Several that come in.
good to see everybody.
Yep. Wendell, War Criminal.
Yeah, okay.
Miss Wanda's here.
Yeah. I've seen Michael X has come
Yep.
in. I've seen Craig earlier.
Leanne came in. Several people came in. So, hey, everybody, if we haven't said hey to you.
Yeah. So good to see everybody tonight. So,
hey,
if
y'all.
everybody else knows, this is Miss V. She has the Not So Perfect Bigfoot show. So y'all go, if you haven't seen it or heard of her, you go over and check her channel out on YouTube. She does a lot of good shows with people, and y'all go check her out.
Yep.
I appreciate that.
All right. You go ahead now.
Well, I know like the other night, me and you talked about some of my childhood, and I know you talked a little bit, some about yours, and I know you grew up just like me and Rebecca did in the South, and I know 90% of the South is the same place, but some areas have their own little unique things they do, either it be food or other things they do, compared to some places. I know Louisiana has some of their own things, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and Tennessee. And then, everybody has their own little things. But now, how do you, you grew up in a very rural area, grew up around tobacco farming and different types of farming. And mosquitoes rough out here tonight. I'm going to have to get some
They've
spray.
been chewing my ankles up.
But they big too, them big old mosquitoes. But I just going, if you want to talk a little bit about your childhood, what you're willing to talk about.
So, I've always had an issue of it, but I can't have my show and have people kind of show me their bellies and me not show mine to people. So I'm just going to put it out there. I've always kind of been an open person and let things kind of, be as they are. But, when you're like in the real world, like at work or around family, they know you, so it doesn't come off harsh or bad. But I'm really reserved, you know, to people that only know me through my show, because I don't want people to get the wrong impression. But I also know that I cannot expect people to come on my show and be honest and not show my belly, because that would make me a hypocrite. So I'll just put it out there. Um, where I was raised at, we were raised in the area that's called the Burn Islands, and the Burn Islands is in Robeson County, and we have that connection, Mark, with our bloodlines and such. And this will come into play later. When I was born, I was the product of an affair. My mom and my dad both just, dad had his life, mom had his life.
Mm-hmm.
But even though I was born of an affair, my father, which is my John Wayne, he still gave me his name, and he loved me and he raised me. And even when our mom left, my dad continued to raise three of us girls, and two of us were not his, but he loved us and he gave us his name and he took care of us. And to this day, I feel like him raising us and trying to keep us out of, the state's care and such is what really just made his heart give out, because he just sacrificed so much for us. And but before them, all of that happened. We were blessed to be raised in the Burn Islands, and the Burn Islands was a special place for me. I call it just pure God's country. You had to know someone to get land in there, because everything was either forestry service or it belonged to the paper mill. And it was the type of place where we were probably 30 minutes out of the city of Lumberton, and no street lamps, no nothing. We might get 2 cars down our road a day. I remember, just had a pond in our backyard. We would have the wild blackberries growing off the vines, and we would pick them. And our neighbor, Miss Molly, she would always make either blueberry cobblers or blueberry pies out of blackberries we picked straight off of course, we'd have them smeared all over our face. And it was nothing for, wildlife to come up in our yard. I watched this pig chase my sister around the pump house. I weren't aware, like, if that pig caught her, he was going to maul her to death or whatever. And I'm on the porch and I'm laughing at her and I'm rooting for the pig. And this wild pig's chasing her around the pump house, and she finally jumped on top. But it was the type of place where you walked outside, you looked up, you saw nothing but the stars. There was no light pollution, no noise pollution. The crickets, the bullfrogs, tobacco. Every year we would, even though we were kind of wealthy, we didn't have to work tobacco, but our parents would make us work tobacco to give us standards in life and teach us to work. There is no we're not recognized by the government, Diane, so we don't have a reservation. But Pembroke would be the place where most of the Lumbees live. So anyway, we're about probably a mile off the Lumber River, and it was still back in a time where you had the moon shack, or the moonshine houses, and the gambling shacks on the river. And it was just a wonderful, but it was a really good neighborhood. It was a really good community, and the community has not changed a lot over the years. And it was type of community that when Hurricane Matthew come through, the elders came first. We respected our elders. We were on church on Sundays, and when bad weather came and the waters would rise, they would get out on their boats. They would make sure the elders were taken care of first, and it was just really a big sense of community, and it hasn't changed. And as we were talking about when you were on my show, there were some dark things that happened there too. And I told you about the family, the mother and the 3 kids that they found in the woods. And growing up now, I wonder, if it was Sasquatch related, because the more I'm in the Bigfoot community, I look at the injuries of these people and I'm like, there's no way, a grown man could do that. No, there's just no way, So, but most of it was plus, and I miss it. If I could buy land there now, which you can't buy land there, I would go back today. It's just a beautiful place to grow up in.
I would love to visit that since I do have ties to that area. One of these days, I would love to visit that area. And because a set of my kin come from that place over 200 years ago, but probably still have kin folks there places, through the Robinsons and also through the Lumbies. But and
Spencer's not nice.
well, Spencer acting up or something. I'll get on him. Hey, all right, Spencer.
I don't deserve it yet.
Don't pay him no attention, Miss B. We all call him Little Possum anyway, so that's his nickname. But he's a good guy. I don't pay him no attention.
Yeah, I had to go get the bug spray. I'm very sorry. I've already got a million bites just sitting here already. So,
well, as far as I know, I listened to your show with Lord, I can't remember who it was, where you told how you actually got involved in the Bigfoot community, or I guess where you got your start was by witnessing. But you did really, you seem more of a dog man than what you did a Bigfoot, correct?
Yeah, I call them canine cryptids. Yeah, I was at work about 2 a.m. The area was like really strange for a week, and I was working night shift, so I was the only, animal service officer, and kind of sitting in my truck. I was in a F-150 full size king cab, and when you go into a work area before it got built up, it's built up now. You went down this little side street on the outskirts of town, and when you come down the road, there's one cul-de-sac to your right. Then you go straight into a cul-de-sac, and if you would turn to your left, you would go into the facility that we worked in, which was probably one of the largest facilities in North Carolina. We would always have an animal service officer at night and have like 6 during the day, and one of us would run at night. So I would park in the cul-de-sac just outside the facility, and I would do my paperwork and kind of wait for the calls to come in. And believe it or not, our number one calls that we would get at night would be panther calls, or, just petty stuff like, abandoned dogs in hotel rooms or something like that. Or like every once in a while we'd get a rent-a-car with somebody would leave their ball python in the glove box or something like that. We'd have to go deal with it. But I was sitting there and I was trying to catch up on my paperwork, and I would get the feeling like I was being watched. And I would look up almost like I was just half expecting to see someone standing in front of my truck. And if you pull it up on Earth Google, it's 4704 Corporation Drive, Hope Mills. Go straight to the back of the road. You're going to see Rockfish Creek. You're going to see in a few miles it hits the Cape Fear River. You're going to see the facility that I worked at. And before then, if you go back on Earth Google, you'll see how it changed over in time. This was when I think the gas company was building their little facility. So you had one little light over a construction area. You could barely see through the trees. And it was really quiet. And over the years, there was wildlife out there that we would feed. We had foxes, a family of coons. I mean, you'd liable to see anything go through there because it's going through the creek. You had 2 major water sources in the area. So what we would do, on night shift, we would always sit there, and like if one of the deputies come by, we would, just talk, because I work with all the deputies. We'd always just talk a few hours. And that whole week, I noticed the wildlife was not there. None of the coons come out. There was a fox that was very domesticated, did not come out, and it was really weird. So I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking, swear maybe I'll give them some food because, I work animal service. We always have food on the trucks. So I go to the curb. If you look it up on Earth Google, I was parked facing out going toward Tom Sterling Road, but I was in the cul-de-sac, like back all the way back. And there's a curve. It used to be a lot of woods right there in that curve. And I says, well, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to dump some dog food on the curb, see if any of these coons come out. Because you get attached to them. They're your company at night. So I go up to the curb, pop the lid off the can of food, and something growled at me. When I said it growled at me, it weren't low, it was high. And it shook my insides. And I tell people it was just like a Jake break. That's the first thing that come to my mind. But you could feel it just vibrating in your chest. And I'm like, I am not going to look up. I am not going to look up whatever that is. I am not going to make eye contact. Survival 101, don't make eye contact. And so I took the can of food and I thumped it as hard as I could on the curve. And I was like, have that, don't have me. I back up to my truck. I get in my truck. And I'm unnerved because I'm like, I have never been screamed at that. And I worked around animals. And it was just a guttural, and I hate to use that because so many people use it, but it had big lungs. And I could feel it. And I was near the Cape Fear River. And I was actually on Rockfish Creek was what was running behind me. And so I got my truck and I'm like, well, wow, wait, that was crazy, So I go about 2 or 3 miles up the road, straight shot to Circle K, and I get some coffee. When you leave the area, you kind of get brave again, And I was like, you know what? That's my cul-de-sac. I'm going to go back. I'm probably overreacting, but still, I could feel it. I could feel it in here. It rattled me. And I says, that's fine. I'm gonna be alpha dog. This is my cul-de-sac. Okay. So I get my coffee and I go back, and I really didn't want to, but I'm just one of these people that if something scares me, I have to face it. And just, that's, I'm 53. It's a wonder I'm still alive because that's how the world sorts out stupid people, right? But I'm just one of those people. I have to go back and I have to face it. So I back into the cul-de-sac. I just had my park lights on, and I said, I really, don't want to get out of this truck, but we couldn't smoke in our truck. I'm like, whatever. I'm gonna go face it, And so I'm at the back of my truck. I have coffee in one hand, I had my cigarette in my other hand, and I'm just sitting there. And about that time, I call it a cryptid type canine because I do not like the term dog man. I seen it. It was on all fours. I went on 2. It was on all fours and went straight across the road. And I'm just like, I'm not going to say what I said, but I was just like, wow, And then I said a few choice words, but I was in shock. Because, I grew up in the swamp. I worked in animal protection. I've been involved in, like swiftwater rescues of animals and people. I've dealt with rabid coyotes on the end of catch poles. I've had to track injured wildlife and aggressive animals, so there was not I was like, that's not normal. I have never seen anything like that in my life. And everyone asked me, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you, no, I didn't see the tail. No, I didn't see if it had raccoon hands or not. I was looking at the danger area, whether it was my training or what. Dog has 42 teeth. That I looked at the head of it, and I was just like, that's crazy. And I was attacked by a cane corso about 2 years prior to this. So I didn't have time to get scared, but I'll tell you right now, when had it turned around and charged on me, I would have lost it. I probably urinated all over myself, but it went by so fast. I just took in what I could get. The one thing people, and we talked about this the other night when Tony Green and Jeff was on the show, the one thing people always tell me, well, maybe it was a dire wolf, maybe it was this, maybe or that. But it's like I told them, show me a wolf with biceps. It had biceps on it. And it was like black against black, but it was blacker than the night. So I don't know if there was a hump on the neck or if it was a mane. I don't know. But it had his ears back and it had a rabbit, like an adult rabbit in its mouth. I could see the definition of the fur of that rabbit, just as clear as day. But he was like a black mass with biceps. And so Tony and I and Jeff and I were talking the other night, and I hate to give weights on it. I really hate to give weights, but we'd say around 400 pounds, maybe give or take. I don't know. I can give you the weight of a person, but don't hold me to that. And down the road say, oh, but Victoria said, I'm doing the best I can with a few seconds of what I saw. The ears were flat back. And I used to describe the nose like a Nikita, like a German Shepherd. But the more I've thought about it over the years, it was kind of short like a Nikita. Does that make sense? Like a Nikita. And but that was about it. It happened too fast for me to get scared. I know it weren't normal in my environment. It did not belong there. When I was on Icebox show, I said if it was standing in the back of my truck, and my truck is a full-size F-150 King cab, and the tailgate was down, the backbone would probably touch the tailgate. So if anyone having questions, I'll answer it. But it was just basically, it was basically that simple. It was literally that simple. It wasn't like on all twos coming at me with the big claws out. It wasn't overly massive. It was it's not like you see on thumbnails. It's not like you see on thumbnails. So I had a hard time with it until maybe 6-7 months later, maybe a year later. I was on patrol and I was looking in some woods for something. I happened to come across these two soldiers that were out of Fort Bragg, and they were stalked by the same thing that I was stalked. And they told me, because I was looking for, by this time I'd gotten into like the dog man and the Bigfoot. And when I was coming to work, I was coming over some tracks, and I happened to look in these woods, and I seen some breaks. And when you first get in the Bigfoot world, they say, look for the breaks, you'll find something, So I saw breaks, and I was like, oh, when I get on lunch, it's my area, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to go. Well, when I was driving by in my truck, and I have their, one of the guys actually let me record them. But when I was driving by in my truck, I kept looking in the tree line, because you have this railroad tracks that run behind it, which would go over the Rockfish River, which, by the way, the crow flies would be about a mile and a half from where I had my encounter. So this guy comes out in front of the road. He says, well, what are you looking for? And I says, what should I be looking for? And so he tells me. And, working animal service, he says, we were out here at night. We looked up on the hill. And he said there was this big black dog. He said, but it wasn't a normal dog. And I looked at my buddy. I said, something's not right with that dog. So we go in, we get our guns, and come back. The dog's off the hill. We're like, where'd it go? Well, they go in the woods, and what they realize, it is counter. Everything they're doing is countering them. When they go to their 3 o'clock, it's at the 9 o'clock. When they go to the 12 o'clock, it's at the 6 o'clock. So it was stalking them when they thought they were stalking it. Wow. It's intelligence. Yeah.
So that thing was thinking.
Yeah, it was thinking.
Yeah.
So when you look at the description, and it kind of validated me because I needed that validation. But since I've come out with my story, like the other night when me and Jeff and Tony was out, I got a picture of one. Almost, if you would put it on all fours, it would almost be identical to what I saw, but not as long and lanky like theirs were. But they sent it to me via email, and they are out there. And what I don't understand is why people in the Bigfoot community have such a hard time accepting that there's a dog man or a cat. And I don't like canine type cryptid. You guys, if I sound like I'm preaching, I apologize. But
You're
I don't
fine.
like to call it a dog man. I call it a canine type cryptid because none of us know. But when I first got into the Bigfoot world and I would approach people with my dog man encounter or canine cryptid encounter, they were so fast to shoot a dog man encounter down. I almost wish I had a Bigfoot encounter, you know, and but that was basically it with my dog man encounter.
Well, I know what you're saying. A lot of folks in the Bigfoot world were very slow to take off with that, but they're starting to really pay that attention.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people bringing that to the forefront, their evidence, and I mean, I don't like to go down that road myself because I don't want to see one of them things. To be honest with you, but you know, my pictures from our corn patch last year, there's something with pointed ears in there with a muzzle with them Bigfoot. So, you know, I'm not saying that's what it is, but there's actually something in that corn patch with those boogers, or you know, call them boogers here in Alabama, or most of us do. But there was something there. I mean, is that what that was? I have no idea. But then I hear little bits and pieces from different folks. Dealing with a guy right now. In fact, I hadn't talked to him in a couple of weeks. He must be mad at us all or something. But he sent me very good pictures of what looks like a dog man on his property. And I mean, it's got the pointed ears, the muzzle, standing on two legs, looking at him. And I mean, it's 2 miles from where I work at. That's what's freaky about it. I mean, I go by that place every day, and it's a big swampy area with a river with a bunch of people living there. So it's kind of weird. But I know where you're coming from. It's hard for people in the Bigfoot community, but I think it's really changing now. I think people are paying attention.
It is, and I had left the Bigfoot community for a while and had just got back in it about 2 years ago, and I get more slack out of the dogman community because I won't embellish what I saw. I'm not going to modify my experience to make a show, to make it through a frightful, or I mean, I didn't have time to be afraid. I was just like, you know, but the first thing that popped in my mind when I got in my truck and, you know, I rode off, then of course I come back, but I sat there and I was like, some redneck bred something that shouldn't have been bred together and it escaped, you know, kind of like this Frankenstein beast. But the weird thing is, we had a lady that I'm still friends with her on Facebook, and gosh, she's got a German name. I always forget her name. I was actually hired to take her spot in the animal service. And when I told my coworkers at work, they're like, come on, Victoria, what are you smoking wacky weed? Or, I mean, what, you know, but of them told me, they says, you need to find this lady on Facebook because she saw two of those creatures running across the field in broad daylight. So I found her on Facebook. I said, we work the same area. Like the area I work we had 6 officers, but the area I work was the whole one side of the county. And everybody else had sections in the city. And she worked this big area I worked. And I said, what did you see? And she saw 2 of them running across a field in a broad daylight. I did not give her the description of what I saw, and she pretty much described it to a T. But the only thing that was different, she said that the ears had like a round type, like a round off type, not the short, pointy types. So there's something out there.
I agree. I think there's a lot more stuff we don't know about. Before you get started, I know we was going to talk about your near death experience. Let me light some of our lights real quick, and if you need to take a break or something real quick, I'm gonna light these. But if you wanna, you and Rebecca can go to talking while I get some lights going a minute.
Let me
me
go
and her-
let Swamp Kitty in because she'll be getting in a fight if I don't let her in.
Yeah, go stay Swamp Kitty. We got sister over here chasing frogs, so yeah.
As long as she doesn't lick them.
She does. She was taught by the best of them to hunt and stuff, so you know.
Talk to the crowd, but
Yeah, I'm in here looking at these comments and stuff, trying to figure out which ones that we have missed and all. Hey, everybody that we have not said hey to, I throwed a few of you up on the screen as my kind of way of saying hey to everybody. As you come in, if you left a comment, I kind of posted it up there while they were talking so that not to interrupt and everything. But hey, y'all, we have a new person in the house. Jay is in the house. I'm not sure who that person is, but y'all make sure you make him feel welcome. And his friend Finn, y'all, he put a post up, a comment about his friend Finn. So y'all just make everybody feel welcome. It's in the chat, and that's what we like about y'all. This is a family to us. Y'all are not just our YouTube subscribers. You are our family. So we appreciate every one of y'all coming in and, you know, chatting and making everybody feel welcome and everything. I've noticed a lot of you are talking about the Alabama get-together. We are looking forward to it. Those of you that are talking food for the event, y'all make sure you slide donations Greg's way. You know, he doesn't have to cook for everybody. But he enjoys cooking, and he cooks really good. So y'all make sure you slide some donations his way for food. It is still a bring all of your own stuff event. There is no bathrooms. We're bringing in some porta potties. There is no power. There is no water. So make sure that you come prepared for that. It is totally primitive. There will be a lot of us there. So no need to be afraid of anything because all of us will be there. We're going to have a central fire pit type area for everybody to gather around. And of course, everybody's going to be gathered around the food too. So just don't forget, in October, unfortunately, we messed up with the date. It is the same weekend as the Talladega race weekend. So traffic will be unreal if you are going into town and stuff. If you have not already gotten your hotels, if you're not camping, make sure you're getting them now because if you wait till the last minute, there will be no campgrounds. I'll go ahead and tell you that now. If you're looking at Airbnbs and stuff like that, again, make sure you're booking that now because those are going to be gone. And the longer you wait, the higher the prices will be as well.
you can go south of the meet and greet toward the city of Alexander City, and they have some motels that may not get sat full, and then on down toward Auburn, which would be an hour away from the meet and greet, would probably have it. That is, if Auburn ain't playing football at home that week. So,
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
We have to put up with the Auburn football traffic because 280 goes right through where we live, and on Saturdays when Auburn's playing at home, whoo, it's rough.
Yep. They call school off for the Monday after Talladega.
Well, and the Friday.
And the Friday too. So this area, it's going to be rough that weekend.
Yeah. Are y'all going to try to come, Miss V? Or
I have to work myself up for crowds.
Okay. That's fine.
I'll work on it in the future. If there's a standing invite, I will definitely try to work on it.
You're invited to come anytime.
Always an invite. Open invite. Anytime you're in our neck of the woods, come on down.
Yeah. Come by, and we'll have some smaller outings. Well, I guess you call them, they'll be more like outings. We'll have some stuff going on. It won't, because some campgrounds are very small and you can only have so many people. And we're going to have one in December too at the Cuyahoga Grist Mill. And it'll be kind of like a holiday get together.
Yeah.
It's the first weekend of December. which is what, 4th, 5th, and 6th, I think. Yeah,
I don't remember something like that.
Something like that. So, but looking forward to seeing everybody. Now, I know you were talking about that you'd had a near-death experience, and I know there's several people in our chat that also have come very close to that. Some of them have been hit by lightning, like I have, and we survived. So there's some unique things here. Go ahead with that, and you know, and if you need to do a pre-story for it, that's fine too. I mean, I understand that. However, you need to handle that. And
did they have? Do you mind if I ask them if they had any questions about the Doberman experience?
I'm sorry, I should have said that.
No, you're fine. I go through it so fast because it's so simple, but
yeah,
okay.
Miss Anna's had a very close, yes.
This is why I've kind of do my show the same way you do your show. Everyone has a story in a story, and
Absolutely.
to me, the cryptid experience is just a bonus when that comes into, into play. And one of the reasons I like to tell stories, or people's stories, is because it's really hard to criticize people when you know their story. And when you're on the outside and you're a non-believer and you see that people, they have the same struggles and their ups and downs in life, and they're just like everyone else, it's kind of hard to, criticize people when they have a story. And I think the story behind the story is very important. And it's just what I have challenged to do, probably because of my my past. So no stories about the canine. Okay.
Nobody's put anything in there that I've seen yet. So
okay.
Well, let me ask you this real quick, and then you jump. I'm sorry. Has there been a lot more reports in your area that I know you said the lady witnessed something, and then the 2 soldiers? Has there been more saying that? Let's just say 100-mile radius of you or that area. Has there been more sightings of the?
I have had sightings all the way back from the 80s, especially around Fort Bragg. Fort Bragg just seems to be a hub for the canine cryptid type. And Spring Lake, we're still getting reports about Bigfoot in the Lillington area. Matter of fact, about 5 miles from our house, we have to go check a place out. I don't know if we're going to do it. I know I'll be live in the field tomorrow, or I'm going to try to be. I don't know if we're going to that spot or we're going to go up toward the Uaris, where we have ongoing. My husband and his friend does research. I just go for the adrenaline rush, But how did it change my life? It really didn't, other than I got criticized a lot. That just added to my anger issues.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know a nice way of putting that, but it took me down a rabbit hole. I was raised religious, in a Christian family. Had 5 Pentecostal preachers in my family. I'm Southern Baptist, so I know that there are things out there that we'll never understand. And even though I didn't think about and really, didn't grow up thinking about Bigfoot, we were. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the Beast of Bladenboro. I don't know.
Is that with the one that was around some lakes that were after people? I've read about more. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The ones I've heard, there was a big lake in North Carolina that a lot of people were seeing these canine type things around this lake, and they were actually getting after people. But it may have been more over in the western part toward the Appalachians where I read something. And some of Miss Diane and Patrick and a few of them are from North Carolina in here, so they might know. They might know about that. But I remember reading that. And it seemed like there was a little area right there where North Carolina and Virginia touched each other. There was some stuff going on right in that area too with some folks or something.
We have an area. We have an area in Stokes County right now that we're getting a lot of requests to go out, and we went out once and really didn't have any activity. I saw my first orange orb there, but that area seems to be, I don't know if that's the area you're talking about, but that's an area that I actually look forward to going to. But the Beast of Bladenboro, when I was a kid, I always thought it was just a festival, I thought it was just just something for them to do, but it was actually based on real events where this between a cat and a dog type creature was actually killing livestock. It was jerking hunting hounds off the chains and just tearing them apart. It got after a couple of people, and this was maybe 5 miles from the Burn Islands where I grew up at. And so basically they did what we do as country people. We got a posse. They went out, and this was in I think the 1940s. They went out and they literally killed every wildcat in the woods, thinking that would solve the problem. And I tell people to this day, that's why the area I have back in my home where I grew up at, we don't get a lot of vocals, but I think over time they have learned to survive in the area by not pulling into attention to themselves. So they don't have a lot of vocals. But it was a cat. They said it was between a cat and a dog-like creature. And so I guess that was always in the back of my mind. So when I saw that subconsciously, I'm like, okay, I didn't put 2 and 2 together, but you hear it as a child, so you know there are things out there. And so it really, it weren't life-changing. And I'm going to be honest with you, at that point in my life, I was so numb that after the experience was over with, what do you do? Life goes on, you're surviving, you're still trying to pay your bills. It was in my mind, but at that point I had seen so much in my life and experienced so much. It was like, it didn't kill me. I know it's not normal to my environment. I'll figure it out later. And that was the second time, kind of in my career that something like that had happened to me. The first time I was actually a rookie in Red Springs, North Carolina. And it's a small town, Robeson County. And it was a little mean small town. And it was the type of town, we only had 3,000 people in the town, and you would think it would be a pie job. It was not a pie job. I have never got punched in the booger box so much. I have never been humbled so much. And, my first 6 years of my law enforcement, I probably broke, in my whole law enforcement career, I broke over 40 some bones. 32 of those were at one time, but the rest were in that small town. And with the type of town where you would come home and you would literally kiss the door because you made it home. It was the first time and only time in law enforcement I ever got pinned down by gunfire. All I had was a curb. I literally, the curb of a street, I literally hugged that curb hoping I weren't going to get shot that night. And so, it was a really mean little town. And out of a town of 3,000 people, we had 3 homicides in one weekend. But that was just the type of town that, would later add to some of my anger issues, and which, I'm blunt about what I've overcome in my life. But we had a quiet night one night, and I decided I was going to run radar. And we had a mild jurisdiction. And once again, it was just a side road, little blacktop stripper road between Pembroke and Red Springs. And I was just outside of Red Springs running the radar. This car went zooming by me, and I was like, I got one, So, I jumped back then. This is how, It's kind of comical now because it was a really poor little town, but we still had the bubble lights, okay? And
Well, I'm going ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry.
we definitely know where Lumberton and Fort Bragg. Yeah, okay. We still had the bubble lights, and this was in the 90s, but we still had we had we go out on the Lumber River. And actually, Swamp Kitty's from the PD River. She got somebody chunked her off the side of a bridge, and we were kayaking and found her. So almost named Swamp Kitty PD Catherine. But so anyway, I was a really kind of lenient officer. I didn't write a lot of citations because I worked in a poor area, and writing citations sometimes you write someone a citation they can't feed their kids or put food on the table. So I was really, big on, the verbal warnings and talking to people. But I was like bored. So this car went whizzing by me. I was like, I'm just going to pull it. So I went and pulled it. And as I was getting out of my vehicle, on my right side was pine trees. The left side of the road, 2-lane blacktop, was a cornfield. And as I'm getting out of my patrol car, I remember my bubble light on top of my patrol car was like, would go down really slow, and it would all of a sudden black out, and I would have to reach up and just punch the top of my car to get it to keep going. It was just hilarious. So I'm out there, and I'm on this 2-lane blacktop, and I'm walking up to this car, and I'm looking at the car, and I'm looking for movement, and I'm looking to see if the door is going to come up, because this was a really mean town. It's like every car you pulled over, you were either chasing them in your vehicle, chasing them on foot, or you're fighting them in the roadway. There was literally no in between. And so I'm just waiting for this guy just to crack the door and come at me, right? And I walk up there, and the window's like this cracked. And anyone in law enforcement knows that's like the first sign of trouble. And as I'm walking up there, these pine limbs from these trees are being healthy pine limbs, 3, 4, 5 inches thick, are just being broke. And something from the top of the pine tree is coming down the pine tree. And as it's going, is breaking these healthy limbs. And you can hear them going crash, and they're hitting the ground, thump, 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 thump. And I remember looking at the driver, and their eyes were like really wide. And I said, go, go, go. And they took off, and I was like, oh crap, they left me here. And I backed it into my patrol car, and I got in, and my knees were shaking so bad. I didn't know if I was going to accelerate. And I was like, oh my God. And I just put it in drive, and I went up the road. And once again, I was like, no, I'm alpha dog. You're not going to run me out of my little town. So I turn around and come back, and I stop, and I'm still shaking. But whatever it is, I've got to face it. I've got to face it. And so I get out. I could hear nothing. Didn't hear the limbs. And by this time, the cornfield's on my right, and I look in the cornfield, and I happen to look up. And there was this craft, I say about the size of a football field. And once again, I'm going for memory. You're looking up in the sky, and it had 3 red triangles, the lights, a light here, a light here. And it was so big. And I was like, I am not seeing this, I'm like, there was no downwind. There was no noise from it. And it was just hovering. And I remember looking up, and I was like, oh, negative, Ghost Rider. I got into my car, and I took off. And I never told anyone that part of it. Because, what are you going to do? Right? But life goes on. Once again, life goes on. You're trying to deal with it. Your mind files it somewhere where, what your mind just has this incredible ability to take something. They were red, and they're like in a triangle, and it's huge. But
what was, I didn't mean to stop you, but was the craft, what shape was it?
Triangle.
Okay, I've seen one too, with no lights, not making a noise. Went tree top level over for one night coon hunting, And it was right out there on the national forest, right there at Bull Gap Mountain, or Rebecca Mountain, is the real name of the mountain. And after that, and when I started researching into Bigfoot, a lot of times when I talk to people about the Bigfoot, a lot of people go telling me about the UFOs they were seeing, and they were seeing them out there flying that mountain range right there, and they was triangle shaped. And they said they wouldn't make a sound. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead.
I really want to hear how that. She's going to crash the show.
Well, we had to put sister in the house real quick. We'll keep her from barking it. Probably
she
deer.
was running, towards the woods, and I don't like her leaving where we are at night. So
We got a bad pack of coyotes around here. So.
Oh, yeah. So, I was a country girl, and even though Fort Bragg was maybe 20 minutes up the road, I'd never been into the big city. I mean, probably the biggest, and really, it was not really a big city, but it was to me. So I'm thinking Fort Bragg. I don't know what, I was just thinking, I don't know, the military, they're kind of sneaky. They have stuff, and, but someone told me later that there is a military. There's someone up the road that has a picture of the cigar shaped thing. It was in a tree stand, Pat. He was in a tree stand. Pat said he seen a cigar shaped one. This guy was in a tree stand hunting right up the road from us. He literally takes a picture of the cigar shaped craft in the distance. Still has it. Older gentleman my husband met, because my husband, thank you. Swamp Kitty, you got a compliment. But my husband tells everybody, we go Bigfoot and all that, but you saw the purple V shape. Yeah. But so the cigar shape, the dude's got a picture of it, or the gentleman's got a picture of it. But the triangle shaped thing, someone told me in a Facebook chat that it was a military craft that can transport planes. And I said, if that's what it is, that's what it is, So I don't know. I don't know if the military has one. I mean, I used to help train the dogs on Fort Bragg. I'd never seen anything like that, but
They would probably keep stuff like that hid from everybody, probably. Kumbo can go in on some of that type of stuff when he used to be around some of the different bases and some stuff like that. So.
The triangle is called the TR3B, I think. Is that a official craft? I don't know. So anyway, listen, Swamp, I'm Swamp.
Got to get the spray bottle. Oh man.
Yeah, but so anyway, when you see these things and you have so much going on in your life, and not only did I work a very violent town, anyone that knows Robeson County can tell you I worked a very corrupt little department. And when you're a good cop and you're working around a lot of corruption, your life really becomes difficult. And I spent 6 years there, and 5 of those 6 years I was trying to get hired somewhere else and get someone else give me a chance, but there was so much that went on in that town. And so when you're a child and you go through things and experience things, you have the underlying anger issues. Then I remember I was putting in tobacco one day with one of my friends named Phil, and this deputy car went by, and I looked at Phil. I said, "Hey, when I grow up, I want to be that." And I pointed at the deputy car, and I remember Phil said, "Hey, when I grow up, I want to do that." And he pointed up in the air. He wanted to be a pilot. And so I spent my whole life wanting to be a cop, and it's all I ever wanted to do since that. I was, 9 years old in the tobacco fields. It was in my blood. I just knew I was going to do it. And then when I got in law enforcement, I don't know if it's still like that, but the corruption was just unreal. And And I'm trying to articulate this because when I go into my near death experience, is there's factors there that why I feel like God used my anger to keep me alive and how he worked that in my. So I'm gonna just put it out there, and if Jeff is in the chat, I have sent Jeff articles where of some of the corruption that was there. My first homicide I ever worked, my chief showed up on scene drunk, told me that he pointed at one of the detectives. He said, "Hey girl, you go over there and you learn how to work a homicide." So I said, okay, well, come to find out, the detective I was hanging out with to learn how to work a homicide was the one that killed the boy that died that we were investigating. Another one was arrested for taking bribes. It was when you spend your whole life wanting to do something, and they didn't just let me in the door to be in law enforcement. I literally, I was half breed trailer park trash. They didn't want me there. I had a GED. I come from, my dad, and it always said stuff about what our dad did to us, which our dad never did. Our dad was the best dad in the world. But back in the 80s, it's not normal for a man to raise $3 too that weren't his. So of course they're going to do that. And our dad never touched us in a bad way. I cannot tell you how many times the Department of Social Services come to our door trying to take us away from our dad. And one day my daddy said, "You ain't taking my girls." He come out of that door with his shotgun and he backed a detective and a DSS worker straight off that porch. He said, "You better never come for my girls again." So my daddy was a man. My daddy was my daddy was my John Wayne. So I spent my whole life wanting to be a cop. And I go in there and I see the corruption. I see what they do to people. I see what the only thing that I lived my life for. They were bad people. And I spent 6 years trying to get out of that agency. So of course you have your childhood stuff, then you have your law enforcement. You really get your eyes open, right? And so that added to my anger. And finally, I was able to find an agency that there was something that happened that shouldn't have happened, and they tried to, put it on me. But the FBI that investigated it was like, "Dude, you got to get out of this agency." Well, this FBI guy calls someone from the city. They said, "Hey, you need to hire this girl. She's a good cop. Give her a chance." They did, and they never regretted it. And it was the best thing they ever did. But once again, trickles down. You get that anger because you're not only seeing what people do to themselves and do to other people in the name of love, do to their neighbors, kids do to their parents, parents do to their kids. On top of that, you have an agency full of corrupt cops. My training officer, I worked so hard to get in the door. They didn't want to hire me, but I camped out in the lobby until they hired me. They got so sick of seeing me, they finally hired me. Then, the training officer I had, I'll never forget. I was in the car with him. We were training. He grabbed me, tried to kiss me. So I took my 5D flashlight. I popped him right on his head and gave him a goose egg. And it kind of went downhill for me after that. Never had any, backup or anything like that. But so that added to the anger. Okay, it just drip, 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 drip. So when I went to the big city, it was totally different. All the officers were great. They were good. Their morals were right. They were doing it for the right reason. It was It was the best agency I ever worked for. I worked with people with all different backgrounds from all over the world, different languages, and it was a brother and sisterhood, and the closeness, was there. And that was like the greatest time of my life. And, and life goes on. I was going to go to Monrovia, Africa on a contract. And at that point, I was up in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and I had left the big city. And I says, well, I'm gonna go over there to Africa, and I'm gonna, get my money, and I'm gonna come pay some debt off, and just enjoy life a little bit, because I've been working since I was 15. And so I get over there, and I'm getting my shots in Fredericksburg and all that, and they're like, well, we're going to send you to Iraq. And I said, no, you're not. I said, you're going to send me to Monrovia, or you're going to send me home. So next plane, they put my butt on the plane and sent me home. And that was just an example of my mouth and my anger, right? So I come back, and I said, well, I'm going to take a year off. So I went to Philly, hung out for a while, got my real estate license. This was when the Eagles lost to New England, and I enjoyed it. I went to Philly with 8 cats, 2 German Shepherds, and and didn't know anyone, but I said, I just need a break. I need to decompress. I need to figure out who I am, because I just, at that point, I was just, I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but I had been angry for so long. I didn't know I was angry, but I knew I had a good heart. I just didn't know where it was at anymore. So I went and got my real estate license. I was up in Philly for a year. I drove this refrigerator truck. I used to go to the Lower Manhattan Fulton Fish Market when it was in Lower Manhattan. And, back then it was like $20 to park. And I would pull up, and there was this guy named Vinny. He was like, hey, yo, Victoria, say that thing. And I was like, hey, y'all. He said, yo, you just let Miss Victoria in. I never got to pay to park. All I had to do was roll up there and say, hey, y'all, or hey, Vinny. And he was like,
That southern accent got him, huh?
yeah. I like Vinny. He was mobster the whole way, but I knew what he was. He knew what I was. We laughed. We just went on with life. I got free parking. That's good. Well, there's a small county in the area in North Carolina. They called me. They said, hey, look, we're trying to get accredited. We need a female on the road that we don't have to babysit. Just come down for a little while. Let us get this accreditation. Then, if you want to stay. We need you here. So I said, okay. Next day, got a U-Haul, grabbed my cats, got my German Shepherd. And one of them was my retired, police dog, because that was my specialty when I was in the city. And I got my German Shepherds in the U-Haul when I come home, and I started working in the smaller county. And what I realized going to this smaller county, it was like being back in Red Springs. And it was not an environment I should have went into, because I come in with like 15 years experience, and my lieutenant had 2 years experience. And they resented my experience, but I always have been kind of rough around the edges. It's like I'll shake your hand, but I also punch you in the booger box too, And then you get a lieutenant that they made me a supervisor, and she kept putting my guys in some really bad situations. And I remember just one day, and guys, I'm not a bad person, but this kind of leads up to my anger problems and everything that was going on. I remember one day my corporal was out on the guy that was wanted for homicide. He was way in the middle of the back roads. Nobody was there. And we were getting BA alarms, or property crime alarms, going off. And for some reason, my lieutenant thought that she should pull me off this vehicle stop with my corporal and go answer a property crimes call. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm going to stay here, because this guy's friends kept circling. I said, well, they're going to probably open fire on us. And I won't. She goes, well, yeah, well, yes, you are. And I'm like, no, I'm not. So we waited for this warrant to get confirmed. We, cuffed stuff, threw them in the car, ended up going to the police station or the sheriff's office, and we got in it so bad that we cleared the sheriff's office out. I said, "You will never do that to one of my guys." I said, "You're stupid. You're not." I said, "You have no business in law enforcement. Not going to happen. No." And when I say we cleaned out that sheriff's office, everybody we just had it out, because I'm really big on officer safety. I will never knock at a door, and tell someone their husband or their wife. I'm not doing it. So that anger started tickling back in, just something I never dealt with. The anger just started building up again. And so we get this call, and I tell you all this dark stuff about me, y'all, because this is kind of what you'll understand. You'll understand it. And I hope, no one judges me for the things I've said.
No, they're not Miss B. They're just a good bunch of people, and we have all went through different things in our lifetime.
Well, the anger started trickling back because you're dealing with someone that's making shots for your people. I've buried enough of my friends in law enforcement. I've quite a few of them I've buried, and I was on scene. Well, a partner got shot, I was across the road when he got shot. And it does stuff. It's just what people do to each other. And probably the best compliment I ever had in my law enforcement career is when me and my buddy Larry were having coffee. And every time, I would feel bad on myself, I'd always remember what he said to me. We're having coffee one day, and a domestic come in and a loud music call come in, and they gave Larry the domestic and they gave me the loud music. I said, "Hey, Larry, I've got a canine. If this guy shows his butt, I'll just release the dog till I get back up," because we were the only two free units. And we actually worked in a county where we had a lot of backup, but it was just one of those nights where everybody was just stretched out. So I said, "You just do the loud music. It's 1 block away from your house. Go home after that, into the shift. I'll take the domestic. Don't worry. I got Ella. If something happens, I'll just deploy her." So I said, I'm at the domestic. Everything's cool. I'm handling it. And I hear somebody come over the radio, "Officer down, officer shot, officer down," and they give out the street location. I said, "That's Larry." And I buried a lot of my friends in law enforcement, and I buried a lot of my friends. And so I get in my car, and we're like literally a block away. I don't know how I went across Skybow Road and didn't get hit, but I got there. And I remember running across the street, and the guy's in the ditch because he managed to OC spray the guy, right? So I'm just on this guy, and I resolved the situation, put him in handcuffs. And I go over there, I start stripping, Larry down, and I'm looking for his wound because his wound's right there, at his femoral artery, and I'm seeing blood, and I'm trying to strip him down and everything. And we end up, he's fine. We're getting him to the hospital and everything else. I stay there in the hospital with him because in law enforcement, it's not like the Bigfoot world. In law enforcement, I was a part. I could be friends with men, and their wives were a part of that. They liked me, they trusted me, and they were comfortable with my friendships. I had with their husband. Bigfoot, not so much. It's not so much. There's always got to be a motive. It's just different. But the people still are good. But law enforcement, their wives, their wives love me. They're like they would call my partner and talk to my partner, and I would end up talking to his wife more than he did. And I'd be like, "Oh, your wife said bring home so and so." It's like, "Whatever, Victoria." We were all close, and they accepted me. They trusted me. They knew I was a good quality person for their husband to work with. And I stayed at the hospital with Larry because his wife had some things going on and she couldn't get down there. And they ended up, releasing them. That got them. I stayed there with them the whole time, and I'm going home with them. And I remember he looks at me. He says, my name used to be Bart. She says, Bart. She says, I was scared to death until I saw it was you that was coming across that road. He says, when I seen it was you, I knew you had me. And I think about all those years in law enforcement, the first 6 years where I didn't get back up because I wouldn't drop my pants for the mail officer, because I was the only that. And anyone that knows Robeson County back in the 90s, if you were a female in a small department, they thought you were there for one reason. And when you weren't like that, you didn't get back up. You didn't get talked to. You were on your own. And then you go to a big city and you're accepted, and you spend your whole career trying to prove your self-worth, and you hear that from someone in that kind of situation. It matters. It matters. And I was stupid when I left that department. And I was stupid for, running my mouth and not going to Monrovia, Africa, because I had explosive experience, and that's what they wanted over there. And so I go to this small county, and and there was a lot of anger there that I just felt I didn't know how to deal with, because you don't talk about it in law enforcement. And if you have any law enforcement in your group, it is exactly what I said in Miss Becca's show. As long as you're going, if you slam on brakes, everything falls forward, and you have to deal with it. It's like slamming on brakes in your car. Everything flies forward, and you're left to deal with a mess. And I hope I'm not boring you guys, but anyway.
No, you fine.
So I'm going. When I hear this call come out, I'm like, I remember this area. The last time we were in this area, keep in mind I was with this smaller county now, and we would run. I probably at the max I would supervise 6 people, and we were a good team. They would give me all the rejects they wanted to fire, and we would make them some of the best deputies ever. And some of it was just as simple as people didn't know how to learn. And we would team them up with the right people, and we would figure out what made our sheriff want to get rid of them to put them on our shift as a final chance. And we made some really good deputies out of them. And so they stayed with us, and we become like just this really tight family. And the last time we went to this call, there was 3 of us back to back, and there was about a crowd of 20 just beating us down. And you can't open fire. You can only use your taser once, right? And so we ended up getting SHP out there, and a couple of the counties next over, or whatever. And we ended up clearing out. Well, the street was compiled of mostly elderly people, and it was a dirt road, and they were scared to death of this one house. And I told them, I said, if that ever happens again, I promise you, we will come and cuff and stuff. You will not live in fear. You will not live in fear. These were elderly people that have lived their lives. They deserve peace. They're getting their houses shot into. These people are coming in from out of the area. It wasn't going to happen on our watch. And about a year later, sure enough, this one house decided they were just going to, show their butts again. And we remembered that promise we made them. And so I'm running lights and siren, and I'm trying to get there because I did not want my lieutenant to come across the air and make a call that she had no business making. And I don't mean any disrespect to her if she ever hears this. Like I said in Brandon's interview, you should have never been in law enforcement. But I was trying to get on scene because I knew if I could get on scene before she opened her mouth on that mic, it was my ball game. And I wasn't going to have to go to spend the next 3 days in her office you know, having a terrible person get someone hurt. I mean, even if her intentions were good, her calls were terrible. And there's these two cars in front of me, and I was going about 90. 90 is not fast in law enforcement. It's not fast. You can ask whoever in the, is in law enforcement. We've been in a situation where our needles just have been hanging 120, 125, just hanging because you're trying to get the people that need you, whether it's officer. You're dealing with people at the worst part of their lives. They have lost control. They need you. And I was going 90, see these two cars ahead of me. It was in the middle of the afternoon, hot August afternoon. The sun's out and all the clouds in sight. It was just road I went down 1,000 times before. Those are the ones that will always get you, the ones you're comfortable on. And I'm coming up on these two cars, and I'm thinking they're going to merge. They're not merging. So I said, fine. So right before this, golden rule, not to arrive on scene with your seatbelt on, because you do not want to get trapped in the car. And like I said, I have been shot at. I am not getting trapped in my car. I reach over, I pop my seatbelt on because I'm anticipating coming up my door swinging. Last time they got me in my car, didn't think I'd ever get out the door. Not a good situation. No, this time I'm going to come out swinging. Pop my seatbelt off. Worst thing I could have done. So my seatbelt's off. It's pure adrenaline. Should have never done it. I go around these two cars. My left tires hit gravel. I spin out and I flip head over tails 5 times. And I end up in a cotton field. The last thing I remember, seeing my car go over me. It weren't on me. It was going over me. And I was sucked out of the window like a vacuum. And from what was pieced together later, that, my family kind of told me from what was told on scene, it took them a while to find me, but this preacher happened to see the wreck. And he found me. I was in the middle of Cottonfield. My car was over there and I was way over here. And he found me. And when I come to, I'm looking up at him and the sun's behind his head. And all I see is the rays of the sun behind him and just the black silhouette of him. And I could hear him. He was praying so intensely over me. And I had no idea my leg was over my head and my body was just, I didn't know. I just seen this man. It was praying. I just seen a silhouette and it was like the sun's rays were behind his head. It was godlike. And the way he was praying and the intensity that he was praying, it took me back to my childhood. Because I was raised with 5 Pentecostal preachers in my family, and how the word of God was preached. It was so powerful and just so, back then you could feel God in church. You could feel the love of God and the grace of God. It's something you don't find anymore. And I just remembering my childhood, and my uncle would be up there preaching. And then I remember going back out. The next thing I remember, I'm looking down and I see my corporal over there. My corporal, we were really close at the time. And, he had just lost it. He's crying. And the detective that I was friends with, he's deceased now. He's over there and I could see him like holding his tears back. I had literally took his place as a supervisor. And the 2 medics that were working on me, we were all really close. And the female medic, she was she was shaking. And I looked over her shoulder and I saw me there. And this is where I had my near-death experience. And I remember looking down, I said, shit, that's gotta hurt. And I realized it was me. And then it's like I just started feeling the pain again. And I just like went back in my body. And I just started feeling the pain. And then, they were bagging me and trying to get me to, the medic and everything. And that's where the near-death experience happened. So Duke Medical Center has a study there. And if you go down, if you look in that study, mine is there because they come in and they actually ask me questions about it and what I remembered about it. But the part that really influenced my life, and this is why I gave you all of the background on me, because when I wrecked, I had been angry for so long that I thought it was a normal. I didn't know I was angry. And when we're on the way to the hospital, I told you, my dad was my John Wayne. My dad lived at Ocean Isle Beach. And if you look at a map, a North Carolina map, and you look at the coast of Ocean Isle Beach, then you look at Fayetteville, North Carolina. That is where they took me to Cape Fear Valley Hospital. Then you look where Duke Medical Center is. I think it's Durham. My daddy drove all the way from Ocean Isle Beach to Fayetteville. And during this ride, this is what he had on his mind. They knocked on his door. They said, Mr. Herring, I'm Mr. Herring. You have a daughter, Victoria, with such sheriff's office. Yeah, that's my. We want to take you to the hospital because they don't think your daughter is going to make it. My daddy has congested heart failure. He had gout. He had diabetes and high blood pressure. My daddy would not let them drive him to the hospital. He couldn't have C. He drove all the way from Ocean Isle Beach to Fayetteville. And while he was on the way there, they had got me to Cape Fear Hospital. They had stabilized me and incubated me for life flight. My family had got there. They said, we don't think she's going to make it. Go ahead and prepare yourself. We need to get your dad, up there. Just make sure you're up there because she's probably not going to make it through the night. My sister said the amazing thing was when they were taking me out the life flight, other than them telling them, of course, the hospital was full of deputies because I'd worked with, deputies and law enforcement 3 counties around me. And they were all gathered in this hospital because they heard, Victoria had got hurt. And I mean, I was a very well loved and respected officer. Contrary to my mouth and my rawness, where in the real world, that's a bad thing. They kind of embraced that about me. They just loved me. And she said that my sisters and my mom was telling them stories like, I cannot believe they told you that story. You just don't want your mom and your sisters to hear some stuff, But she said when they were pushing me out the life flight, when they walked outside, she said as far as you could see, parked up and down the road, were cop cars with their blue lights on, and the cops were standing outside and waiting for life flight to leave with me. And she said she never seen anything like it in her life. And they stayed out there until life flight left with me. So they took me to Duke, and this is where, hey, shots fired. So they took me to Duke, and this is where it weren't a near-death experience. It was this. You can love something so much in your life. And I think I loved my law enforcement career so much that God literally put me on my back and said, you got to get your priorities straight. So
he does that.
Yes, ma'am. He sure did with me. So when I was in a 4-month coma, and they could do very little surgery on me. I mean, they eventually had they put rods in me and the whole, because my femur was snapped in two. I had 2 collapsed lungs. I literally broke all my ribs but 2. This hand was wired together. My head trauma I broke every region of my back. My neck should have killed me and it didn't. My pelvis was split open. I broke 32 bones. And they told my family if I lived, I wasn't going to walk. So they actually talked to my dad. Then I went into kidney failure. Then I got pneumonia. But They tried to talk my family into taking me off of life support. And I can't remember the type of machine, but the machine was just pumping air in me. It was just banging my head. If anyone knows what it was, but that's how hard they were trying to pump oxygen in me. And it was just banging my head. My sister just said, it was just the most violent thing she'd ever seen. But my dad was like, you're not taking my daughter off life support because you don't know my daughter. My daughter ain't going to die. And my dad would drive every day for 4 months from Ocean Isle Beach to Duke Medical Center with congested heart failure, diabetes, gout, could barely see, and he would sit with me and he would talk to me. And they finally told my dad, they said, we gave her enough medication to knock an elephant out for a month, go home and get some rest. And when I was in my induced coma, I loved my job so much that every day in my mind, I would get up and go to work because that's all I had. I walked away from 2 marriages because of my job. I never had kids. Some of us are lucky enough in life to be born into being able to do what we were meant to do. And I was meant to be in law enforcement. And I'm not ego or anything, but I was insanely good at what I did because it was the only thing I ever did in my life that was right. I could go to any neighborhood, regardless of the status of the neighborhood, and I could talk to people. I could relate to their life. I don't care how poor you were or how rich you were. The military always, when military gets deployed, you see what their wives do, right? So when they come home and their boyfriends want their husbands out the picture, and these soldiers were getting DBOs taken out on them, I saw this. And when you're trying to talk a soldier out of taking his life, when all he's ever done was served his country, and he came home to that. I don't even know why I went there, but I was good at what I did because I cared, and underneath all that rawness and all that, I mean, my mouth was was worse than a sailor. I had a short fuse, but not toward the public. I mean, when I was at the big city, I had a deputy that would always talk smack to me because I was so country. And he did it for like 2 years. And one day on briefing, I just flipped the table on him and punched him in the booger box. And my lieutenant had a cow in the break room. So I was constantly like in internal affairs, and internal affairs like, oh, you can't punch deputies. You know what I'm saying? So with that, I was bad. With the public, I was good. And I was lucky to be born to do, I knew, and it's all I had. Never had kids. I walked away from 2 marriages. I'm like, you knew what I did when you dated me? Now you're going to tell me quit? No, my daddy raised me to always have a way out, and your way out is a good job. So I walked away from 2 marriages. So my mind, every day I would get up and I'd go to work. When my fluids were filling with lungs, I was doing swift water rescues. Whatever was going on around me, in my mind, I was relating to law enforcement. When they were putting the blood clot boots on me, I could feel it in my mind. I'm like, why are you guys putting mounted patrol boots on me? I don't want to ride a horse. I work dogs, So everything they did to me in my mind, I could relate it to law enforcement. So I tell people, if you go in and you talk to someone, whether they're induced or talk to them, because in their own mind, they're going to relay what you're saying to what matters to them. And so every day I'd get up, I'd go to work in my mind. And just one day I get up and I find myself in this basement. This is where the anger comes. This is the moment I build up to, because it's really important, just to be honest. I get in this basement and it's cold, it's damp, we're on a search warrant. And I can hear the special response team, SRT team. I can hear them walking around the outside of this house saying, "Where's Barch? We can't leave without Barch. You come in with so many, you leave with what you come in," and they couldn't account for me. They're walking around the basement and they're saying, "Barch, Barch, where are you at, Barch?" And I'm in this basement and I can't answer them because the one thing I feared in life were snakes. And I'm in this damp basement and I'm sitting there and snakes are falling off the rafters and they're falling all over me. Bump, bump. I could just feel the weight of them just coming down on me and they kept hitting me. And I am petrified. And I'm trying to answer them. I can't answer them. And I hear a voice behind me. And the voice was authoritative, but it was loving, kind of like your dad would talk to you. And it said, "Have faith and believe, you shall not be harmed." And before I heard this, and like I said, I was in this basement. And you know the old houses where you walk down into the cellar through these steps and the trap door would be in the floor. You open it up from the kitchen. Well, it's like someone opened up this door and this light come down and I could see the steps. And I knew if I could get to those steps, I would be okay. I could walk in the light and I'd be okay. But I was so scared because these snakes were falling all over me. And I could just feel the weight on thump, 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 thump. And I heard a voice say, "Have faith and believe, you shall not be harmed." And it was very loving, very authoritative. And I'm thinking, I got to get up those steps, but I'm scared. Minutes later, I heard it again, only this time it was very more authoritative. And it said, "Have faith and believe, and you will not be harmed." At that time, I had that faith of a mustard seed. I got up and I started walking up those stairs into the light to where the kitchen would be, but where the light was coming down, and I come out of my coma. And I tell people, let me go back real quick, and I'll tie this up so you guys can go. But when I knew I was going to wreck my patrol car and it started flipping, there was a moment there I knew I was going to die. I weren't scared to death. I didn't care. I really wanted to die. I didn't care. I said, "You know what, God, I give this to you." And I let go of the steering wheel. I perfectly at peace with dying. But that faith of a mustard seed, when I let go of that steering wheel and I gave it to God, just like that, in my opinion, that faith that I had at that moment, that vehicle wreck, is what delivered me when they lost me in the field. So that faith of a mustard seed I had when that voice told me to get up, I weren't going to be harmed, and I started walking through the light and come out of that coma. What I tell people, when people tell me, "Victoria, you must be special, you must have something special to do in life," that's not correct. The thing is, I weren't special enough because, and I've thought about this over the years, because and I'm going to be blunt because I'm a blunt person. I live every day of my life falling short of that grace that He gave me. And I tell people, I tell them, God is the greatest fisherman ever. And He is. He takes the little fish and He throws them back in the pond of life. And He threw me back in that pond of life and He says, "You grow some more. Next time I'll keep you." So the reality was I wasn't special enough. And I think about my friends I've lost over the years, and I have a really hard time with this. And I had a really hard time coming on the show tonight because I knew I would talk about this and be honest about it, because I ask that when people come on my show. I have a really hard time when I look back over the years and I buried friends, and not just friends. I worked in law enforcement I come from a county where if you made it to 16 years old, you've done, and you weren't killed in the streets, that you beat the statistics of our county. I buried a lot of law enforcement officers. I let a lot of friends go. I had friends that were lost in the war. And I think to myself, these were people that had wives, daughters, kids. These were people that had something to live for. And I feel like I struggle with it because I feel like it was a wasted life, that it could have been better served with someone else. And it's not that I'm not grateful. It's not anything, but there's so many people that had kids. There's so many people that had a wife or a husband that's struggling right now. And I see myself now and I still see that anger just below the surface, and I have to fight it every day. And I don't know how to handle that. I have a hard time with it. And that's just raw honesty. And when I got out of the hospital, I did end up walking again. I spent a year with my dad. Best year I ever had because I couldn't live unassisted. I wouldn't let him give me anything for pain. Um, I did in-house physical therapy. Then I went home and did physical therapy, and I did it all and wouldn't take anything stronger than 800 milligrams of ibuprofen. And I have a lot of guilt, but I know I fall short, and I know that just under that surface, I still have that anger. And the only thing I really relate to are my animals, and I have a lot of guilt. I don't fit in, as we said earlier, I don't fit in with crowds. I don't relate to people well. So my show is the only way I can talk to people where I feel semi-normal. But I mean, I went 8 years in medical retirement. I barely left my home. I would go shopping, but I just had no desire to go out. The post-traumatic stress is really bad. I deal with it a lot. I mean, I work a high crime area. I mean, where people walk up my car and they think they're going to rob me. I'll literally snatch them by the collar and just like, not today, sunshine. So I don't know. I pray a lot. So, but with all of the dysfunction I have, the post-traumatic stress, which is a lot better now, but the anger is still there. And so I do pray a lot, but with all of that, it could have been better served somewhere else. And that's not being ungrateful. That's a reality to see kids without parents, and it's just a reality. But that's pretty much my story. If anyone has, and another thing I was going to do when I first got out, I was really excited and I wanted to tell my story, but it was actually Christians in the church that told me it didn't happen, or that's not what a near-death experience is about, or it was my imagination or the medicine. And the thing is, as Christians, we got to do better than that, because this has been 2007, and I just now, I guess, witness about it. And, and I'm a Christian, and I don't mean disrespect, but we need to lighten up sometime. We need to lighten up. We judge people that come into the church. I mean, the church is for the drunks. The church is for the broken.
Yep.
It's not always going to smell good. And I think and I'm part of that. Our judgment toward people is why people are turning their back on Christ, and we could have done a better job. And I'm guilty of that. So it's not a sob story. It's not. It's just, if you're going to come on my show and tell me your secrets and who you are, this is who I am, and I'm have more darkness than light about me, but I know my heart's good, and I know I've done good things. When I was at my daddy's house, I had over 300 cards that people had written me, how I had impacted their life and how I changed their life. And the one that really sticks out is and I don't even remember this, was this little kid that he told me I was the reason he went into the military and made something out of himself. And his mom happened to see my story on the news, and they wanted to tell him before he saw it on the news, because like I'd always been, they called me Catwoman, that was my street name, but and I read every one of them. I got so many flowers, I couldn't have them, in the area of the hospital I was at. So my family would take these flowers to people that didn't have flowers in the hospital. So everybody, would get flowers that normally wouldn't. So there was good things that come out of that, but not being able to return to my job is what I think is what really just broke me.
She's back.
But that's the raw honesty. If you may have any questions, I'll answer them. But I mean, that's the raw honesty. So you go through that, then you see a canine cryptid across the road. Yeah, yeah. Yes,
Yeah. I really appreciate you sharing your testimony. That's what Gary said. He's absolutely right. That's a testimony. And coming on in front of people telling that, and I think it will help you being able to tell people, and also how you say this.
I just want to tell people stories, because every, like Miss Rebecca, you would not believe your story, how much people it's helped, and Pat's, and there's so many people that have told their story. It's not just about Bigfoot. I want to tell people story, good to bad, because everybody has a
Yeah,
story.
we tell our Bigfoot stories everywhere, but nobody gets to know the people.
Okay.
Now, I agree. That's one thing I really like about your show. I'm sorry I don't get to watch every show.
That's fine.
A lot of times, just the way life is, I can't get to even some of them, like Spencer's shows and stuff. Sometimes I miss them just because of life. But
Yeah.
plus, me and her having our own channel too. And I'll be honest with you, I do a lot of phone calls with people. Rebecca can tell you I'm on the phone a lot with a lot of folks. And sometimes these people are just wanting to talk because they got stuff going on and they want somebody to listen to them. And all of us need to take time to listen to folks and show compassion like Christ did. One of the best stories to me, one of the best stories that Christ done, besides saving us from our sins, of course, going that day on that cross, was the day they brought the woman that they were accusing of adultery. And according to Moses' law, she was to be stoned. And Christ kneels down, starts writing in the dirt, and then looks up and says, "Y'all right, but who without sin cast that first stone?" Of course, they all dropped their rocks and walked off. And then he asked the woman, he said, "The woman, where's thy accusers?" And she said, "Well, they left." And he said, "Well, neither do I accuse you. Go and sin no more." And he showed compassion. And you're right, that's who he hung out with. That's who he went to. That's who he searched for. He didn't really want to deal with the Pharisees because what did he call them? The children of Satan, pretty much what he called them. Because they took the law and bound people by that law. That law was supposed to help people, but they turned it around and used it to bind people. And I really appreciate you having the courage to tell us about that. I really hope by you telling us that it helps you some more. And of course, we'll be praying for you. I still got you on my list from the first time you told me. I hadn't took you off of it. I don't take people off of it much. I hate to say it, the list gets bigger and bigger, but I'd rather somebody tell me to take them off of it, then I know they're doing a lot better. But I really appreciate you telling us. I really do. Really do.
Thank you. And thank you for the kind remarks in the chat. Now, you have an outstanding channel. And I can't wait to my friend John Futway. Apparently he couldn't come in tonight, but I think you guys really do good for him because he has his own battles. So hopefully we'll see him in the chat here shortly.
Well, we're all, us and Spencer and Roger and Beast TV and all. We've got a very good YouTube family. Got to meet a lot of them at LBL. Of course, I don't get to talk to everybody like I'd love to. I wish I could just talk to every one of them every day, but it's just hard to do it in this life. But me and her look forward to our Friday nights. I mean, we really do. Just for the people to come in, chat, talking, having a good time, and we really appreciate it. And we'll go. If you anything you like to close with before I do the prayer list, and anything you like to say to anybody, or
I hope you guys have fun with your meet and greet and your outing. You're good people and you're a good family, and you guys are really have set the tone for what the community should be about. And I'm grateful and blessed to be a part of that. And thank you for letting me in your family.
and thank you for inviting us onto your show. And it's really enjoyed it, and I was proud of Rebecca doing her first interview by herself. So you done something, Miss V. You got her. You know, I mean,
she has a beautiful story.
Yeah, first interview by herself, and I'm proud of her, and I'm glad that you got that show, and
Thank
with
you.
her. So, well, we'll go over the prayer list real quick, and that's right. Miss Diane said you need to write a book about your experiences.
Yep.
I don't know. I did send Jeff some links to because the story about the little cops and stuff. Sometimes you have to send the articles just to say, you know, so people believe you. But I appreciate it.
You need to go back and read all these comments later.
Okay.
Everybody loved it.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Let me do the prayer, and we'll end the show. When we end, I want you to stay on for a minute if you're able to after the show, if you got a minute. I know it's getting to be 10 o'clock for you, so I know you probably like to get off the air and get relaxed.
Well, no offense, I'm freezing.
It is cool out here now.
It's cool out here.
It's nice
I'm
here in Alabama.
and done had to go get the jacket.
It's nice here in Alabama.
But I didn't want to miss a minute.
Thank you.
Excuse us for doing all this. It wasn't we was bored. We've been fighting
bugs.
mosquitoes out here and bugs.
You can put saddles on them, but okay.
That's about it. They that big.
How's everybody? Y'all.
Leanne said, remember her eye, and Bobby Younce said starting physical therapy for her spine and everything. So, and gel injections for her knee. So keep her in there too.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, 71 is much cooler than 90 something. So I'm cold.
It is cool out here tonight. All right, y'all remember Brother Billy in prayer. Chillings, y'all keep Billy. I don't know if Billy's still in the chat or not. Y'all keep Billy in prayer. Let's see. Can't see. I need to turn the light
Wendell,
on.
Leanne,
Hold on.
Ava
Leanne.
and family.
Yeah, hold on. Sorry, I'm sorry about that. Let me give you just a second.
Where'd the flashlight go that was right there?
That's it, but it's too bright.
Oh.
It'll light the world up out here. And I've been keep hearing something behind us too. I've been trying to.
I've been hearing something over there often.
Yeah, there may be something out here lurking tonight. Ava and family. That's Bobby's. That Bobby's niece or grandbaby. That's Bobby's grandbaby. Y'all forgive me. Sometimes I get things mixed up. I'm human too, so I get mixed up. And Fourth Keep Brother Wendell, Mr. Jeff Townsend, Christy, Mr. Gary Spikes, Miss CD, Mr. Mark D, Stacy Thrasher, Greg House, Bobby, on her physical therapy and everything, and David and Kathy, friends of ours here. John and Katie. I know Katie, I think, said her husband was doing better. She was in here earlier. Mr. Terry and his wife, Caroline Allen. Miss Jubilee, I've seen her in here earlier. Hope she's David Hughes. David Hughes' mom and dad. Y'all keep those in prayer. Miss Cindy Johns. Miss Sherry Griffin. I didn't see Sherry tonight.
I didn't either.
Mr. Gene, he was here earlier. Y'all keep him and his family. Keep our neighbor, Miss Peggy Martin.
Y'all, not only did she have a wreck with an 18-wheeler a while back and having PTSD with that, her niece had a wreck with an 18-wheeler and unfortunately lost her life with it. That just happened this week.
16-year-old girl.
So you know her PTSD has got to be through the roof again because she takes her grandbabies to school in the same area every day.
Y'all keep Phyllis and Mr. John Lamb. Keep River Mars. Old River still in here?
Yeah, he was. Do we have the Saturdays on there?
Yeah, I think I do have.
Well, if we don't, they need to be on there because Mr. Saturday had that big surgery again finally.
Okay.
The one on his stomach.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah. He's on 1 weekend, still on a liquid diet.
And we have Kenneth Crabtree, Miss Lanita, Miss Jean Hudson's son, Lisa, who's a friend of Miss Barb, and Miss V and her friend that you had mentioned to me about. Miss Connie.
Stacy, that was one of several this week.
And that's Miss Catherine's daughter. Y'all keep Misty in prayer. Misty messed up her ankle the other day. Knee, excuse me. I'm sorry. That's where y'all tell. Sometimes I get things goofed up. D.A. Roberts, I think he's doing a lot better. Mr. Tennessee Cherokee and Jeffy. Jessica, which is PJ's niece. The Shutter family. Hillary. I hadn't seen Hillary tonight. Y'all keep my cousin David Burton and Earl Emerson in prayer, and my Uncle Larry. My Uncle Larry's at home doing a little better. My cousin Earl's doing a lot better from his heart surgery. And my cousin David Burton is still in the hospital and having a lot of surgeries. He got in a wreck and broke a bunch of bones. And they've done 4 surgeries, I think. So I've got to get up to Birmingham and see him. Lane Payton's family. That was my good friend that passed away here a couple of weeks ago. Y'all keep his family in prayer. Bill and Deal. Barry Lackey. Michelle Powell. Kenneth Littlejohn, a friend of mine in Tennessee. Y'all keep him in prayer. He's still having some issues. Y'all keep Clay, which is Pat Rance's friend down in Florida, and I've met Clay a couple times. Real nice guy. Y'all keep Mr. Craig Schuett's wife, Amanda, in prayer. Clay.
Carl Perlin.
Carl Perlin. Perlin. That's Gary's friend.
Loren.
Let's see. I know I got some rolling in the back here. Get it flipped over.
And CD Squatcher said that her, I done lost it. Daughter-in-law's, the mass on her kidney is likely cancer.
Okay.
So keep her.
Then Joey, who had a tractor wreck. So y'all remember everybody, and we have some unspoken requests tonight, which there's always some unspoken requests. So y'all keep that in mind. I'm gonna turn off the dogs have been going crazy way back in yonder tonight. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yep, I have.
Sound like a pair of coon dogs treed over for a little while. A lot going on, and plus our country. Whew, Lord have mercy, Andy knows since going down that road. But yeah, everybody knows what's going on there. I'll be praying for our country. It's on the brink of big problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even talking. There's a lot going on spiritually. Not just all the other. So y'all go support Miss V and her channel, Not So Perfect Bigfoot. She's got a good channel. I love the way she's doing it. Y'all go subscribe if you hadn't. Y'all go support her. Of course, our friends at Woodwalker, Spencer, Misty, and Greg. Roger over Squatch and Holler. I'm sorry. That's right. Roger needs to be on the prayer list too. Roger's having some hip problems. Y'all be praying for Roger. Yeah. And hope I did not miss anyone tonight.
Did we say Joey? Joey was the one in the wreck.
Yeah, Joey was in the tractor wreck. Yes.
And prayers for Cindy.
Yeah. So, and I know there's probably a lot more people that need prayer. And Beast TV, y'all go support them. And PJ, a lot of y'all go.
You haven't seen PJ lately.
Y'all go support PJ and her channel over at the Lord, I can't even remember that. That's why I tell you, I get where I can't remember stuff no more. But yeah, most of y'all know PJ's channel. Y'all go check her out.
Can someone send me that link so I can support?
Yeah, somebody please put.
I can't remember what PJ's link is. I can't remember the name of her channel right now. But if any of you remember her channel name, put it in the comments, please.
Yeah.
Or you can text it to me.
Yep. PJ is a very good Christian woman. Her and her husband Paul, and they have a lot of Bigfoot on their property. She puts out some good videos. Her channel's growing.
A number.
Yeah. She's a very good person. We finally got to meet her at the meet and greet her and Paul, and hopefully one of these days I get to make a trip out to Arkansas and visit with them. And plus some more people I need to see.
Swamp got quiet. I feel bad because I sprayed her. Swamp.
Oh, she's pouting.
She's pouting.
I'm asleep with one eye open.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to too since I put sister in the house.
Well, we'll say a prayer real quick where we can all. Okay. Ooh, that's not good. Okay, we sure will. Sure will, Craig. Sure will. We'll say a prayer and we'll get off by here. And Lord, thank you for every day that you give us. Sometimes we don't understand or know what other people are going through. And forgive us when we don't take time to listen to other people, to what they've experienced. Give us patience, give us understanding. Thank you for your love, your compassion, your peace, your mercy, your judgment. Thank you for your son that he come to this earth to walk amongst us and to forgive us of our sins to where we'd have a way back to you, Father. Lord, thank you for the Holy Spirit that you sent to counsel us and convict us of our sins. And thank you, Lord, for everything. Lord, be with all these names that were named tonight, whatever they're going through, Lord, you be with them. And all the unspoken names and whatever else they're going through, Lord. Just not health issues, but, Lord, depression or anger issues or drama issues or financial, whatever it be, Lord. Be with them. Give them grace, Lord, and counseling. We ask this all in the Lord Jesus Christ's holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Well, we love all y'all tonight, and remember, always be kind to each other. Don't cost nothing. A kind word can really take wrath away. a lot of times this drama gets going in this Bigfoot field. I ain't never understood it, but I know a lot of people disagree with me, but this is what these entities bring on is bad stuff a lot of times. I know a lot of folks get mad at me when I say that, but
Maybe it's not so much bad stuff as it is division.
yeah, division. But I know I have my opinions where they come from. I know everybody else does, but I think they bring a lot of bad with them. If nothing else, they scare the devil out of people. And that's bad enough. So, but we love all y'all and enjoyed seeing y'all tonight. And I will have a video out. I've got a video. We just got to take time and download that thing. So, and
Right,
so,
y'all.
nah, we love y'all and we'll see y'all later.
And stream.